Hello friends, now I am going to discuss about a special relationship between the banker and the customer. Here, this special relationship between the banker and the customer is arises because of the primary general relationship of debtor and creditor relationship. And here we are looking at different obligations and rights arises because of this special relationship. Means special rights and obligations arises here because of debtor and creditor relationship. We are going to study here. And also here we are going to study what role the mutual obligations and rights appears between the banker and the customer. It arises because of the primary general relationship like that of a debtor and a creditor relationship. When we are going to look at these special relationship, we are having a different special very special relationship between the banker and the customer in three matters. First one is obligation between the banker and the customer, and the second one is rights of the banker. Third one is both obligations and rights between the banker and the customer. So here we are going to refer the special relationship into three parts. First one is obligations of the banker. Second one is rights of the banker. Third one is obligations as well as rights of the banker. When we are going to see the obligations, firstly, here we are seeing the obligation, first one as the obligations of the banker or banker's obligation to honor the customer's check. And the second one is banker's obligation to maintain the secrecy of his customer's account. Now I am going to discuss firstly the banker's obligation to honor the customer's check. So look at this, when we are seeing the banker's obligation to honor the customer's check, we should understand what this banker's obligation to honor the customer's check. Here, the obligation to honor the customer's check arises when a customer opens a current account in the bank. So, if you are the customer to any bank, if you open a current account in a bank, then the obligation arises with the banker to honor the customer's check as and when it is presented for making payment until there is a sufficient credit balance lies with the customer's account. So this is the obligation of the banker. He has to accept or he has to honor the customer's check when it is presented for payment if several conditions are fulfilled. Let us see what the relationship we are going to see in this case. The contractual relationship is there, and that contractual relationship establishes the contractual obligations with the banker to honor the customer's check. And banker's obligation to honor the customer's check is subjected to certain conditions. So here we are following some obligation. It is as per as the obligatory part we are looking at. There is the statutory obligation also fixes the banker to honor the customer's check, which is that the statutory obligation. Section 31 of Indian Negotiable Instrument Act of 1880 1. Here it says that the banker's obligation to honor is a customer's check is subject to fulfillment of certain conditions. Let us see which are those conditions to be fulfilled to honor the customer's check. Firstly, sufficient funds must be there. Sufficient funds must be there. Second one is that the funds must be properly applicable for making payment of the check. Thirdly, banker must be duly required to pay the check. And thirdly, there must be no legal bar preventing the payment of the check. So these are all the conditions necessary to honor the check of a customer. Firstly, sufficient funds must be there. What is this sufficient funds must be there? What it means? So here, what the credit balance means, funds means cash balance, funds means credit balance or cash balance in the credit of the customer's account should be at least equal to the amount of the check presented for the payment. So what the check amount is there, it's at least it should be equal to the credit balance. If the banker does not have sufficient funds of the customer, he can dishonor the check issued by the customer. So here we are saying that if there is no sufficient balance to pay the customer's check, if it is presented for payment, the banker should not make any part payment of that check. What amount is existed in the credit balance, to that amount he should not pay. He should dishonor that kind of check. And here we are looking that second is applicability of funds. What is this applicability of funds? So here the funds must be properly applicable for making the payment of the check. So what the funds of the customer in the hands of the banker is there, it should be properly applicable for making the payment of the check. Suppose if the customer is having the trust account with the banker, and if he issues the check of the personal account, the capacity changes. Trust account is different and customer's personal account is different, and hence the funds of the trust account is not applicable for making the payment of the check. And similarly, we are seeing that if the customer gives the notice to the banker stating that his credit balance is assigned to any third person, after receiving the notice of the customer regarding assignment of his credit balance to any third person, the funds in the customer's account is not applicable for making the payments if in meanwhile the check is presented for making the payment, because the customer assigned entire his credit balance to third person, means the amount is not available for making the payment of the check. This is another matter. If the customer's funds in the bank in the hands of the banker are not applicable for making the payment of the customer's check, the banker can dishonor the customer's check. And thirdly, the banker is duly required to pay the check. When the customer is duly required to pay the check, he is forced to pay the check. He should pay the check. He must pay the check. When he must make the payment of the check, if we are going to think, so here, if it is the banker must pay the amount of the check presented for making the payment when it is complete and is in order, and it is and if it is presented within a reasonable time after its date of issue. So here, what it means it should be complete. and in order. The check should be complete and in order. When the check is complete and in order, the check is properly drawn, satisfying all the legal requirements, then it is called as it is complete check and it is in order. And what is the another thing? It should be presented within a reasonable time after its date of issue. Means there is no any legal definition of what constitutes the reasonable time within which a check must be presented for payment. But here in India, we are saying the according to tradition or custom of the bank or practice of the bank, here the check must be presented for payment within 6 months from the date of issue. Otherwise, it becomes stale or invalid check. If the check is not properly drawn, the banker should dishonor the check. If a check presented after it becomes stale, it should be dishonored. If the check presented for making the payment before the due date, or if the post-dated check is presented for making the payment before its due date, in this case also the banker need not honor the check. He can dishonor the check. And another matter, we are seeing that there should be no legal bar preventing the payment of the check. Means that there should not be legal restriction which restrain the banker or which restrict the banker from making the payment of the check. So what it means there should be no stay orders, or there should be no garnishee order which prevents the banker from making the payment of the check. And if any order issued by the income tax authorities attaching the customer's funds in the account, a check drawn by the customer against such account should not be honored by the banker. Like this we are saying. So if there is any legal restrictions, then the banker cannot make the payment of the check. If all these conditions are satisfied, means sufficient funds must be there, means the funds must be available at least equal to the amount of the check, then the banker can make the payment of the check. Properly applicable for making the payment of the check, both the rights and capacities should be same, then the banker can honor the customer's check. Duly required to pay means that the check must be complete and in order, and it should be submitted or it should be presented for making the payment within reasonable time after the date of issue. Then the banker can make the payment of the check. If there is no any stay order, any restriction from the income tax authorities, custom authorities, or police authorities, or any authorities, then or any court of law, the banker can make the payment of the check. If there is no such restriction, the banker can make the payment of the check. So after fulfilling all these conditions, the banker has to honor the customer's check. Here arises obligation to honor the customer's check. So then we are looking at banker's obligation to maintain the secrecy of customer's account. Here, banker's obligation to honor the after banker's obligation to honor the customer's check, we are moving towards banker's obligation to maintain the secrecy of a customer's account. So here, what this secrecy means? So here, banker's obligation to maintain the secrecy of customer's account means he should not disclose to any outsider the details relating to the customer's account, like the amounts deposited, checks, drafts, and bills deposited for collection, the parties from whom the checks, drafts, and bills are received, the checks issued, the parties to whom the checks are issued, the balance in the account, the OD facility obtained, loan or any advance granted, the securities deposited by the customer against loans, like this. It means that the banker should not disclose to any outsider the state of his customer's account. So why this secrecy has to be maintained? The relationship between the banker and the customer is purely confidential and private in character. Hence, the banker has to maintain the secrecy of his customer's account. So there are exceptions to the banker's obligation to maintain the secrecy. Which are those exceptions? So under the express consent of the customer. So here under the express consent of the customer, the banker is justified in disclosing the customer's state of account. What is this express consent of the customer? Let us see. So here, for example, if when the customer has given the name of his lawyer, or when the customer give instructions to the banker to give some or all the details of his account to an authorized person, maybe to his lawyer or auditor or manager or his secretary, then it becomes a express consent of the customer. And in this case, the banker is justified in disclosing the details of his customer's account to the authorized person. Like this, here we are going to find exceptions of banker's obligation to maintain the secrecy when there is express consent of the customer. Under the implied consent of the customer, so the banker is justified in disclosing the state of his customer's account to an outsider even when there is implied consent of the customer. So when such cases arises, implied consent. Take for example, if the customer gives the name of his banker to a third party for the purpose of a trade reference, then there is implied consent that as a trade reference, if that banker is asking, the banker is bound to give some of the details of his customer's account, being the referrer. So this is how the implied consent of the consent of the customer, the banker can disclose the state of customer's account to an outsider. He is justified in doing so. Then when he is compelled by the laws of the country, under the Bankers Books Evidence Act of 1891, a banker can disclose the state of customer's account to the court when he is called upon by the court to do so. And under the section of 285 of Income Tax Act of 1961, every banker is required to furnish the income tax authorities the names, the address, and the amounts of interest paid to depositors who get more than rupees 10,000 as interest during any accounting year. And also under section 133 of the same act, the banker is required to give information about the customer to income tax officer when he calls for the information in his official capacity. Means also we are looking at under the Exchange Control of 1947, the banker can give information relating to customer's account. And also under the Customs Act also the banker can give the information to the custom authorities. Under the CPC means Criminal Procedure Code of Police Law, then the banker can disclose the state of affairs of his customer's account to the police officials for the purpose of investigation. Under the Companies Act of 1956 also, the banker can give information relating to the company's account to the inspectors appointed by the central government to investigate the affairs of the company. Like this, under Banking Regulation Act of 1949, every banking company is required to submit to the RBI annually a return of all those accounts in India which have not been operated for 10 years. Like this, what we are observing here, under different laws of the country, the banker is forced to give the details of his customer's account. If he gives the details of his customer's account on the basis of laws of the country, then he is justified in disclosing these matters. Then under the public duty to disclose. So here under the public duty to disclose means in the interest of the nation, he can disclose the state of affairs of his customer's account. Take for example, if the banker comes to know that the banker comes to know from the customer's account that he is dealing with the enemy country during the period of war, then under public duty or in the interest of the nation, he can disclose his state of affairs immediately to the government. And also here we are seeing, if the customer's account reveals that the customer is dealing with any anti-national activity or anti-social activity, by tracing the accounts of the customer, if the banker knows that he is dealing in any anti-national activity or anti-social activity, then the banker must disclose his state of account to the government in the interest of the nation or state. Then we are looking at under his own interest. So here, when his own interest appears here, in the sense here when a loan is granted to the customer but he is not repaying in time, and even the time required time is passed up, the customer is not giving back the loan or settling the loan, then the banker has to take legal action against the customer. Then in such case, under his own interest, he can disclose every state of affairs to his lawyer. Then he is justified in disclosing his customer state of affairs or state of account in detail to his advocate. And in some case, what it happens, so if the banker wants to recover the amount due from his customer from the guarantor means if the borrower fails to repay the amount. Here, what it happens, the borrower borrow the money on the basis of guarantor's security. So here, if the customer or the borrower fails to repay the amount, the banker usually asks the borrower to repay the amount, and after the expiry of a specified period, the banker is going to ask the guarantor. The guarantor, for asking the guarantor, the banker need to give the information, full information about the borrower. Then in such case, the banker becomes justified in disclosing the state of his borrowers or customers' detailed account to this guarantor, because it is under his own interest. He has to recover the money, For recovering the money, either he is enforced upon the customer or now he is enforcing upon the guarantor. Last one is fellow bankers inquiry. So as a courtesy matter, if any fellow banker is making inquiry, under that inquiry also the banker is justified to disclose the state of his customer's account. So here, in case what it happens here, the banker has to follow some precautions while answering his fellow banker's inquiry. He should not be negligent in giving information. The information should be given confidentially, and the information should be given honestly. While answering the fellow banker's inquiry, he should depend only on facts as disclosed by the customer's account, and not on rumors regarding the credit of the customer that are float in the market. The information should be most general, in the manner of most general. Like this, he has to follow some precautions while giving the answer, and also he should state that he should specify neatly that he does not undertake any responsibility for the information provided him. This line is to be added, because in future any defamatory case maybe appears, or any case may appears, and hence he should be very careful. He should add this line, and while giving the information, he should give the information so that it should not make him liable for defamation or fraudulent representation. And to the best of his side, he should get the express consent of the customer before giving the information. So here ends the first part, banker's obligation under special relationship. What we observed: banker's obligation to honor the customer's check, and banker's obligation to maintain the secrecy of a customer's account. Thank you for listening.